Hello everybody, my name is Chen, aka Jchensor. This particular video is going to cover movement options first, and we'll get into a bunch of the other system mechanics in later videos. With most fighting games, you're just able to move your character around just by walking back and forth. So if you hit the controller forward or hit controller backwards, your character can walk forward or backwards. If you hold any of the three down positions, you can crouch, and of course you can jump by hitting up, up forward, and up back for three different directions of jumping. Of course, these three different states will change what attacks you get when you press the buttons. So if you're standing or walking, you're going to get one set of buttons. If you're crouching, you're going to get another set of attacks. And if you're jumping, you'll get a third set of attacks. In most modern fighting games these days, there's another movement option here besides just walking, and that's forward dashing by tapping the controller forward twice very quickly, and also tapping the controller back twice very quickly. And so there you have the forward dashes and the back dashes. In City of the Wolves, there's actually two different kinds of dashes. You'll see that some characters, like Rock Howard here, can run, and then some characters, like Preacha, will dash and immediately stop. The difference between these is that for run, once you start running, if you just keep holding forward on the controller, your character will continue to run forward. And as you can see, will cross the screen very quickly. For characters with a dash, even if you hold forward on the controller after you start your dash, you'll see the character will stop and start walking. Both are actually used for closing distance very quickly. As you can see, they move forward a lot faster than just walking. However, as you can tell, running is a lot faster than trying to dash multiple times. So there is a slight advantage to the characters that can run. Now, outside of that difference, there's basically no difference between running and dashing. You'll see that both of them have a very short minimum distance that you must travel forward first before you can actually stop and block. And even before you can activate the Rev Guard, for example. However, regardless if you have a run or a dash, both can be canceled basically at any point during the run into any sort of action that your character is allowed to take. As you can see here, same thing with dashes as well. In many fighting games where you can actually cancel a dash into an attack, you actually retain a lot of the momentum of the dash so that your move kind of slides forward as you attack. That is not the case here in City of the Wolves. As soon as you hit the button, as you can see here, your character will stop all forward movement that isn't natural to the move that you're using. Now, if you want to dash and stop, the only real way you can do that is by hitting back on the controller or hitting down back. And then you can stop your forward momentum. For characters with run, if you hold down forward on the controller, you'll actually continue running. Now, for any character like Mai or Kain that have a flash kick motion that requires you to charge down and hit up plus a button, the ability to hold down forward during a run is very useful. Now, this is significant for characters with a flash kick motion, which is named after Guile's move from Street Fighter 2. It requires you to charge down and then hit up and a button to be able to do the move. However, there are so few characters in this game that have flash kick motions that there is actually no intersect between characters that can run and have a flash kick motion. So far, this technique doesn't work for any of the characters in the launch roster, but I mention it because in the future, perhaps we will get a character that can actually run and charge at the same time. But for now, there isn't a character that can take advantage of this in the game yet. Now, interestingly enough, you can't cancel either a run or a dash into a jump or a back jump. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that if you actually hit up forward while running, you will gain access to what is called the dash jump. which is actually a jump that goes a little further. We'll talk more about the dash jump later on in this video and learn more about what that is. However, you will notice that minimum distance that you have to move before you can actually stop running, that same minimum distance is required before you can neutral jump or jump backwards. So in essence, when you're running or you're dashing, you are not allowed to cancel that into a neutral or a back jump. In this launch roster here, there are only 6 characters that actually have a run, and that's just Rock, Terry, Hotaru, Hokutomaru, Don Juan, and Ronaldo. Every other character in the game has a dash right now. So more characters are going to be more similar to what Preacha is doing here than what Rock is doing here. Now, before we move on, I want to mention one thing, is that Tzok is a unique character in this game in that his dash behaves unlike any of the other characters. Unlike all the other characters, he cannot cancel his forward dash into anything, not even a dash jump. In fact, Tzok right now in the launch roster is the only character that doesn't have a dash jump at all. So Tzok, when he dashes forward, he's actually committed to the entire dash before he can actually do anything. And that is, of course, because he has command throws. And so being able to cancel a dash at any point in time into a command throw would be very scary. So Tzok is very limited in that way. So keep that in mind if you decide to be a Tzok user. Now, as for the backdash here, you know, backdashes are mainly going to be used to try to build distance from you and your opponent. Because if you walk backwards, you can't move too far. And if they hit buttons, you know, your character will get kind of locked in place and not be able to move backwards. However, backdashing lets you get away from your opponent a lot quicker than just walking backwards. The other use for backdashes is that they are actually airborne the minute you start them. So in a lot of ways, you can actually avoid throws with them. Throws can only catch grounded opponents, so backdashes are very useful for escaping throws, especially when you're in the corner here. And if you backdash a throw, you can get a big punish combo on your opponent. As I mentioned, backdashes are airborne on pretty much the first frame, which is why they are able to avoid throws as well as they do. Keep in mind that the entire time you're backdashing, you can't cancel it into anything. So you are vulnerable the entire time. And not only are you vulnerable the entire time, but right when your character lands from a backdash, they're still going to be vulnerable a little bit, even when they touch the ground. And if your opponent manages to hit you out of those frame, they can actually get a nice damaging combo on you. So do not abuse backdashes too much. In some fighting games, when you get hit out of a backdash, sometimes it puts you in a special counter hit state where you take extra damage or the opponent can do a lot more combos on you. That's not the case here in City of the Wolves. No matter if you get hit out late in your backdash, early in your backdash, or even if you get hit in those vulnerable frames when you're actually grounded again, none of those states actually reward the opponent with any sort of extra counter hit. So at least if the opponent does hit you out of the backdash, they're not going to be rewarded with any sort of, you know, extra combos or more damaging combos that could only work if it was a counter hit state. Now, one last thing to add about backdashes here is that because they're airborne, for characters that do have air special moves, you can actually backdash into the air special move oftentimes. Now, so far in the launch roster here, I've only seen characters be able to backdash into the EX version or the Rev Art version of the special move. However, even characters that have air special moves, not all of them are allowed to be done out of a backdash. For example, here, Don Juan does have an EX dive kick move here. And unless I'm making a mistake, I don't think you can do it out of the backdash. So even though he has an EX version of it, he is not allowed to do it out of his backdash. Now, one of the nice things about City of the Wolves is that they've given you a lot of different options to perform the same things. So, you know, I talked about how you can dash by double tapping forward or double tapping backwards. Well, City of the Wolves actually added the ability for you to access these movement options just by using the Rev Guard button. You can see here that if you hold forward and press Rev Guard, it automatically makes your character start their dash. And if you hold back and press the Rev Guard button, you will backdash instantaneously. These alternate inputs make it very easy for you to control these movement options at a moment's notice, and are actually a lot easier to do than using the double tap here. There are going to be some cases where the double tap will be more convenient, but I feel like here, for now, at least in early going, learning how to dash and backdash using the Rev Guard is probably more important to start off with than learning how to use the double taps here. So obviously for run, because you can just keep running, if you tap forward, you'll notice that your character just keeps running at that point in time. However, for the characters with dash, you know, you can see obviously you just dash one time. However, if you hold forward and Rev Guard at the same time, you'll see that your character will automatically continue to forward dash at the earliest moment possible. So in actuality, the fastest way to move forward with just dashes is just holding forward and hitting and holding Rev Guard at the same time. So remember, I mentioned that, you know, to use the Rev Guard for dashing, you just hold forward and hit Rev Guard, or hold back and hit Rev Guard. Now, one of the things that you can do is if you're already holding Rev Guard, if you hit forward on the controller, it will automatically start your dash or run right away. Again, you can see here, same thing here for characters with dashes. However, if you are holding Rev Guard and you hit back, this will not trigger a backdash. Now, this is very intentionally designed because they wanted to prevent you from having Rev Guard on and hitting back and accidentally backdashing and going from a defensive state to getting hit out of the backdash. So it's kind of a nice, secure way to prevent you from accidentally making yourself vulnerable. If you do want to backdash out of a Rev Guard, you can do the manual double tap back here, and that will make you go backwards. But as a result, unlike the forward dashes here, if I hold back and hold Rev Guard, I can't automatically backdash over and over and over again. In order to do that, you just have to learn how to time it. And don't be too fast, because you might accidentally get the Rev Guard, and that will eat your ability to actually perform a backdash. So learn the rhythm of your character, and then you can get the multiple backdashes in a row by tapping the Rev Guard button in a nice rhythm. Now, the final movement options, of course, are the ability to jump. And there are actually 3 different jumps in this game. And I don't mean just neutral jump, back jump, and forward jump. Those are all considered regular jumps here. However, there is something called the short hop, which you can make your character actually jump lower and also have a shorter jump arc overall. And this allows you to jump and attack earlier in your jump compared to a regular jump attack like that. And then, as we mentioned during the dashing section, there is something called the dash jump, which actually just makes you go farther. However, the time that you spend in the air and the height are basically the same as a regular jump. The only difference is that you go significantly farther. To illustrate the differences a little more clearly here, you can see here that short hops in general are so low to the ground that they can't even jump over a standing opponent. A regular jump will make it over, but I land right next to the opponent. And a dash jump, you can actually see I actually have a lot more space between me and the other character once I get over them. One thing to note is that you can actually short hop in all three directions, but a dash jump can only be done going forward. There is no such thing as a dash neutral jump or a dash back jump. There's only a forward moving dash jump. So how do you perform these different jumps? Well, if you're familiar with King of Fighters, the way that you actually perform a short hop is that you just press the direction of the jump and then let go of the stick as fast as you can. So think of it like a tap jump, kind of. And if you want to do a regular jump, then you just hold the direction a little bit longer and you'll do the regular jump. Now, a lot of people who have played King of Fighters find that trying to perform the short hop is kind of difficult, and you gotta have to practice until you get good at it. Well, City of the Wolves has added an alternate way to do short hops that makes it so much easier, and that's basically if you hold Rev Guard and jump, you will automatically do a short hop. As for the dash jump, as we mentioned earlier, all you have to do is hit up forward while you're running. And you'll notice one thing too, is that all three of the jumps have a very distinct audio cues for them as well. The short hops have basically no audio with them at all whatsoever. As you can see here, regular jumps, you hear that very muted swish, and dash jumps, much louder swish noise. So learning how to distinguish which of these jumps you're gonna do at any given time is gonna be a very important skill to learn here in City of the Wolves. One of the tricky parts is that, for example, if I'm walking forward and I wanna do a dash jump, or if I'm walking forward and I wanna do a short hop, both of them involve hitting the Rev Guard button, in this case to get the run started and then to jump. And then the short hop is to, hit the Rev Guard so that I can actually do the short hop like this. It'll be really easy to get the two inputs mixed up and get the wrong jump that you wanted. So what's a good way to distinguish between the two from an execution standpoint? If you want a dash jump, if you're holding forward like this, make sure you tap the Rev Guard button quickly and then let go right away, and then immediately transition to up forward. That will get you the dash jump. However, if you want the short hop, don't let go of the Rev Guard button. Hold the Rev Guard button and do the same thing, and that will get you the short hop. So again, tapping it will get you the dash jump, holding it will get you the short hop. And that is a good way to distinguish between the two. Tap for dash jump, hold for short hop. And so that's going to cover the basic movement options that you have in City of the Wolves in this first video. Keep an eye out for more videos to come. I'm going to be doing a video on all the offensive options that you have, a lot of the defensive options. I'm going to be talking about what the SPG means, how you actually interact with the rev meter, for example. But for now, that's it for movement options. If you do enjoy this, or if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. And also, please like and subscribe to this video as well. Hope you learned a lot by watching this, and hopefully the future videos will help you learn even more on how to get started in playing City of the Wolves. Thank you guys once again. My name is James Chen, aka Jchensor, and I will see you in the next video.